Good afternoon. My name is William King. I'm here today to talk to you about my comprehensive exam presentation. I do want to share with you some information that I have learned over the time that I've been here at Jacksonville State, and that's what I'll be going over today. The first thing I want to talk about is my action research project, and that's a thing that we did in IL 510. And basically, I'm going to review some of the progress towards the goals that were set up in that project. And so what I want to talk to you today about is that problem statement that I came up with for my action research. Columbia High School graduates less than 80% of the students who started here in 9th grade, and that's a national, state, and local problem because these dropouts can have a lot of issues late in life. One of the things that I found in my research was that the issues that they'll face is, on average, that they'll drop out, earns less money, is more likely to be in jail, and is less healthy, and less likely to be married, and is unhappier than most high school graduates. And I thought that was important. But as stated in the Action Research Project, indicators of student risk from dropping out of high school include, but are not limited to, discipline issues, poor academic performance early in their high school tenure, poor relationships with teachers and peers. Relationships are key. Kids need to have good relationships with their teachers and their peers in order to be successful. Bullying, misidentification of being at risk early on in their career, or if they're at risk and they're misidentified as special needs, or low socioeconomic standards. But all of those things can create an issue or create an environment where a student may not feel like they want to continue and will not continue until 12th grade. So I came up with a plan, and there's a 4-step plan. The first step is to actually train teachers to identify those at-risk students. I think it's key to continually train teachers and help them understand what the needs of those students are. But train teachers also to identify the risk factors so that they can be aware of what those are. And if a student is normally talkative and they become sullen, if they are normally well-dressed, they become poorly groomed, if they change their behaviors or attitudes extremely or even slightly, oftentimes it may mean that there's an issue that needs to be addressed. And so training teachers to identify those risks is key. Another thing is to teach teachers to use multiple intelligences and differentiated teaching methods for lesson planning. If we don't have ongoing teacher training, then we're doing a disservice to our teachers and our students. I think ongoing training to help develop better strategies for teaching is necessary. I think it is something that's important, and it will be a key to helping kids get from 9th through 12th grade without dropping out. Another thing is having tutors and training kids how to learn. I think it's very important that kids understand test-taking skills, test-taking terms, those kind of things that will help them understand what's expected of them. I encourage my teachers in my department to have word walls, to have rubrics for test taking so that kids can understand what's expected of them on the test. Teach them what to describe, teach them what to compare, teach them how to answer the question, to what extent does this compare to that, and what that means and looks like when they actually do compare things. And so tutoring teachers as well, tutoring students as well after school, maybe a peer-to-peer tutoring that goes on, but all of those things are important and can help. The other thing is monitoring progress. We have benchmark scores that we address. We look at data all the time. For the 3rd benchmark this year, our department, social science at Columbia High School, has been the highest in the district, and we got an award last test for the most increase in the scores for the district as well. And so I think it's important to note that you need to continually monitor progress and see where you're at, see where the kids are at, and make sure that they're getting it. You have to check their understanding and check where they're at, check their grades and the data to see exactly where you are, and then adjust accordingly. You may have to reteach some things, you may have to go back over some things, but that was the action plan implemented that we started here about 18 months ago. So the standards that I felt like were met by the action plan that I created First one was the planning for continuous improvement. And several of the things that I found that were in that plan for continuous improvement were lead the articulation, development, and implementation of a shared vision and strategic plan for the school. It places student and faculty learning at the center. That part of the standard, got to have continuous improvement, got to have a plan for that. Aligning instructional objectives and curricular goals with that shared vision, and then allocating and guarding instruction time for the achievement of goals. This one has been the most frustrating one for me this year and for most teachers, because what we've seen is we have data meetings, we have reviews, we have training, and all those things are important, but they tend to draw away from instructional time. And so one of the things we have to remember is this standard is important, and every point from this standard, and that's one of them that we need to look at and make sure that we're guarding. The second standard is the teaching and learning standard. And obviously having a plan is important, but you have to plan for achievement and annual learning gains. So we need to know our annual progress. We need to know school improvement goals. We need to have that communicated to the teachers from the district and the principal, and every department needs to have their own as well, so that we can have teaching and learning standards met. Another one is to collaborate with the community, staff, district, state, and universities. One of the things that we've done is we've partnered with universities to come in and talk to our kids. We have regular meetings with our kids to talk to them about going to school after high school. We've talked to them excuse me, about the possibilities of what they can do and what it takes to get to college, what kind of GPA, what kind of scores on the test, what kind of resumes they need to develop. And so teaching and learning goes outside the classroom. It's more than just the dates and the times and the places for social studies. It's more than that math problem. It's what extracurricular things are they involved in, and those kind of things as well. And so teaching and learning, collaborating with the community and staff, and the students as well, and other stakeholders. Aligning the curriculum, instructional practices, and assessment to district, state, and national standards. One of the things that we have striven to do all year, and we strive to do every day, is to find those standards and address those standards when we're making our lesson plans and doing our pacing guides. We go in and tweak them at the beginning of the 9 weeks, and at the end of the 9 weeks we review and see how did we do, where do we need to do better next time. So it's important, I think, to continually address those things. The other one is human resources development. If we don't have human resources development, then we're doing a disservice for the longevity of the system, because we need to hire and retain high quality teachers and staff. We need to lobby for better pay. We need to lobby for better conditions. We need to lobby for assistants and aides in classrooms that need those. We need to lobby for directors that will help in schools, if it be curriculum, if it be reading, if it be whatever resources we need. Could be healthcare resources and those kind of things, but we need to do that. Human resources development across the board, setting high expectations and standards for the performance of all teachers and staff, using accepted methods and principles of personnel evaluation, and those things. Another standard that we wanted to address in this, and I think was met by our action research plan, was diversity. When we talk about diversity, we're talking about those kids who are different than other kids that may be in class with them, and maybe different than the teachers. The teachers may be a diverse group as well, but conforming to legal and ethical standards relating to diversity. We have to address those kids who may be in our school that don't speak English as a first language. We have to address those kids who come from a school that may have been behind, a diverse background even, a diverse culture. All those things have to be addressed as well. But arranging for students and families whose home language is not English to engage in school activities and communication through oral and written translations. Interact effectively with diverse individuals and groups using a variety of interpersonal skills in any given situation. Those are all things that I think we need to address if we're getting to know those kids and having relationships with those kids in the classroom, that we understand their background and we know more about them and we can address their needs. So diversity is definitely a standard that we met. Another one is the community and stakeholder relationships, tying hand in hand with diversity as well as teaching and learning. I think if we look at this, community stakeholder relationships. We've got to address student family conditions affecting learning. We've got to communicate the school's vision, mission, and priorities to the community, possibly in other languages than English. We also have to share leadership and decision making with others by gathering input from people. Get together and meet and talk about things. Have stakeholder meetings, PTSA, be involved in those things, and let them know what the plans are and what you would like to accomplish. And then they can buy in. Another one is management of the learning organization. If you have chaos in the school system, you cannot have education going on. No learning's not going to take place if there are people fighting and screaming and running down the halls and acting foolish and not doing the things that they need to do. But we have to build and have an ability to support our culture of learning at the school. So we need to support the culture of learning. We need to create and have the ability to empower a school leadership team that shares responsibility for the management of the learning organization. We've got to apply operational plans and processes to accomplish strategic goals. And then the other standard that we addressed was ethics, adhering to a professional code of ethics and values. Certainly that's important. Making decisions based on the legal, moral, and ethical implications of policy options and political strategies. We've got to develop well-reasoned educational beliefs based upon an understanding of teaching and learning. All right, so those are the standards that I felt were met by my action research project. Another thing I want to talk to you about today is something that's really exciting to me, and that was the Wiki project and the Curriculum Web EIM 504. The three things that I got right off the bat were laying out an effective web page, and then basic page design principles, and making accessible pages. One of the things that I really thought was cool about this project was that it was interesting, it was fun, and it's something that I had never ever done before. Never made a web page before, and so when I started doing this a little over a year ago, it was interesting to me because I was learning something brand new, and it gave me pause for thought to think about how that affects my kids in my classroom. How can I get them excited about learning and doing something that they've never done before? And so some of the things I wanted to say about this, the learning outcomes were exciting to me, and I think you can apply this to almost anything that you teach. But some of the learning outcomes for this particular project were to create a web quest, develop goals for the curriculum web, design an effective curriculum web, select appropriate learning activities, plan instruction and assessment, select web-based resources, and integrate multimedia, construct interactivity, evaluate, and maintain the curriculum web, which I thought was interesting because about a week ago I got a message from the Wiki place that actually supports this, and they said if you want to keep this, then you need to go in there and edit it, or send us an email or something saying that you want to keep it. If not, then we're going to delete it. And so I went and looked, and I had over 550 hits on this website, which I had not looked at it in a while, but my kids are still using it. And so I thought it was interesting to me that I created something that's out there. And the great thing about it was that I was able to pick the color background, to pick the graphics that I used, to pick all of the things that went into this website. And one of the most aggravating things to me is ease of activity and ease of transitions on a website. And if you can't go back to the home page, it's useless to you. So I put that on every page that you could go back to the home page. I put information about myself, about my classroom, or what I taught, but I also put interactive games and all kinds of research toys, research strategies, and things that kids could use, things that they could go in there and actually look at and apply for the concepts of economics, scarcity, and production, but specifically to writing and reading techniques and games they could play for math skills and all those kind of things as well, because I felt it was important to include those. And so this was a really fun activity for me. It was really good to do. But some of the standards that I felt were met by this was number 2, and that is the standard teaching and learning. And we've already mentioned what those were, but planning for achievement of annual learning gains, aligning curriculum instruction practices and assessment to district, state, and national standards, and so on. And then diversity, because every kid learns differently, they could go in and pick and choose and kind of create their own web quest. And if you give them scavenger hunt to do, then they can go in and find things that you lay out there, kind of like Easter eggs. But you could just give them free reign and say, go play in the WebQuest today, the Wikispace today. Scarcity Isn't Scarce is the name of it. But they could go in there and play around for hours and not do the same thing 5-6 days in a row. And so I liked it because of diversity. Also, community and stakeholder relationships. Because people can see what's going on in the classroom, people can see what we're doing, what we're learning. I think it's important that they feel that they are a part of it. And if parents want to know how can they help their kid, they can go on there and get definitions, play games, and do vocabulary searches, word scrambles, and all kinds of things that I created and put in there or found on the web and attached to it. Another one is community and stakeholder relations, technology. Besides community and stakeholder relations, is technology. Obviously, it addresses student and family conditions affecting learning, communicate the school's vision, mission, and priorities to the community, sharing leadership and decision making with others. But technology, implementing a plan for the use of technology, telecommunications, and information systems, developing a plan for technology integration for the school community, promoting an effective integration of technology throughout the teaching and learning environment, using technology to support the analysis and use of student assessment. Because I put a lot of assessments in here, they can actually go in and take quizzes and tests and do Wordles and all kinds of other things, crosswords, but other types of assessments are in there as well. And they can play games that give me a rating as to where they are in their understanding of these things as well, and play them over and over again until they get proficient at them. So these are some of the things that I felt like the standards that were met by the Curriculum Web project that I did, and I really enjoyed it. So in summary, I'd like to say that Jacksonville State has prepared me, I really believe that, to be an administrator, to be a district leader, and to develop leaders in my school. And so the last thing that I wanted to mention was the ISLLC standards. Those 6 standards, along with the 8 other Alabama standards, I think are very important to understand, learn, and know, and practice. And those 6 standards, I feel like, will actually help guide me in my decision making and my preparation to become an administrator. And so that's my presentation. I appreciate your time. Thank you very much.